Welcome to my channel. My name is Rhea, and in this video I want to talk about the ketogenic diet. What is the ketogenic diet? What can we eat on the ketogenic diet? What are the benefits? What are the precautions? And what is the keto flu? So let's talk about these things. But before we begin, I request you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I post a video. So a ketogenic diet is an extremely high fat diet. More than 70% of our calories come from fat on a ketogenic diet. It is a moderate protein diet where 20 to 25% of our calories come from protein sources, and it is an extremely low carb diet where the recommended intake of carbohydrates is between 5 to 10% of our total calories. So it's a high fat diet, moderate protein diet with extremely low carb intake. Now, a ketogenic diet is different from a low carb diet because the main goal of a ketogenic diet is to get into the state of ketosis. Now, what is ketosis? Ketosis is when our body uses ketones as its fuel source rather than glucose, right? Usually our body runs on glucose. It uses glucose to fuel itself. But on a ketogenic diet, the goal is to switch out that fuel source. From glucose, we want to start burning ketones. So that's the main goal of a ketogenic diet, and this is different from a low carb diet, right? In a low carb diet, the goal is not to get into ketosis. On a low carb diet, the main goal is to consume less carbs. We may or may not be in ketosis. Also, on a low carb diet, we may or may not consume high quantities of fat. But on a ketogenic diet, fat is the main fuel. On a low carb diet, we might be consuming low carbs and high protein, right? It's not necessary that through a low carb diet we will get into ketosis, but the aim of a ketogenic diet is to get into ketosis. So that's the difference between low carb and ketogenic. Now, what are some of the fat sources on a ketogenic diet? So on a ketogenic diet, a lot of focus is given to really high fat foods such as cheese, cream, butter, clarified butter such as ghee, avocados, nuts and seeds. All these are good sources of fat. As far as protein is concerned, higher fat protein is recommended if you are non-vegetarian. Fatty cuts of meat, fatty fish, eggs. So these are the sources of fats and proteins, and I'll sum those up once again. For fat, it's usually ghee, which is clarified butter, coconut cream, nut butters, nuts, seeds, avocados, olive oil, these things. As far as protein is concerned, things like fattier cuts of meat, fatty fish, eggs. And as far as carbohydrates are concerned, right, the goal is to keep carbohydrates to a bare minimum. So what one can eat on a ketogenic diet are vegetables. Now, these are low carbohydrate vegetables such as cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, mushrooms. And what's not recommended on a ketogenic diet is things like potatoes, tubers, peas, carrots, vegetables that are higher in carbohydrates. So that's the basic outline of what one can eat on a ketogenic diet. A lot of fat, a little bit of protein, and vegetables that are low in carbohydrates. Even green leafy vegetables like spinach and kale are great on ketogenic. So what are the benefits? Now, before I get into that, I just want to mention that the ketogenic diet started as something to treat epilepsy, right? It started in the 1920s with the goal of treating epilepsy. So that's how it all began. And some of the benefits that have come about since then are low insulin levels. So ketogenic diets can potentially lower our insulin levels. And this is important, especially if you are suffering from hyperinsulinemia or high insulin levels, right? So it can help lower those insulin levels. The next benefit of the ketogenic diet is that it can lower inflammation, and inflammation has been linked with many health conditions. So lowering inflammation can potentially lower disease risk, and that's another benefit of the ketogenic diet. The ketogenic diet, since It eliminates a lot of the sugars and the carbs and all that kind of stuff. It can really help us lower our blood sugar levels as well. Another benefit of the ketogenic diet is that it can boost weight loss, and this is the reason why most people adopt the ketogenic diet, to boost weight loss efforts. So those are some of the benefits. It has a lot more benefits, but I just wanted to give you the highlights. And that being said, the ketogenic diet is not for everyone. If you're someone who has high uric acid levels, right, the ketogenic diet may not be for you. If you're diabetic, then the ketogenic diet can come with risks. If you are an athlete and have an extremely high level of activity, then the ketogenic diet may not be right for you, although that depends from athlete to athlete. Generally speaking, it may not be the right thing for you. If you're someone who suffers from eating disorders or has a history of undereating or are underweight, the ketogenic diet may not be for you. So ketogenic diet is not for everyone, and there are precautions that we need to take while being on a ketogenic diet, right? Being properly hydrated is important. Taking adequate electrolytes is important, because the ketogenic diet flushes out water, it flushes out certain electrolytes as well. And now let's talk about the keto flu. So the keto flu is like a flu, right? Headaches, nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, fatigue, lethargy, low energy levels, everything. All these things can happen during a keto flu. And what is a keto flu? Keto flu is a period of about 2 weeks or so. For some people, it lasts maybe a few hours to days to weeks, right? It just depends from person to person. And it's this period of time where our body is transitioning. It's transitioning from burning glucose to burning ketones. And during that transition, we can face these issues of headaches and fatigue and vomiting and nausea, and it's because our body is not used to burning ketones. So that's what a keto flu is. So when we switch from a regular diet to an extremely low carb diet, we might feel like this. And usually the average duration is about 2 weeks. It takes about 2 weeks for the keto flu to resolve completely, and usually some electrolytes can help in the process. So that's what a keto flu is. So to sum it up, I would say that the ketogenic diet is a high fat, moderate protein, extremely low carb diet with the goal of getting into ketosis, switching from burning glucose to burning ketones, using ketones as our fuel source, right? It has numerous benefits, especially for lowering insulin, lowering inflammation, and boosting weight loss, but it is not for everyone. So I hope this video was helpful in some ways, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.